So you ready?
I am so ready.
I want to do a quick run through.
Okay.
I'm bring it to you.
Okay.
We'll have a good time.
You got it.
You sure you're ready?
I am so
You
ready.
can feel it.
I can feel it. I can feel it. I can feel it. I'm
right, here we
feeling
go.
something, and I think it's it.
NERDSoul. Late Ill Kid at One Youngster holding it down, bringing that street geek and nerd soul. What is up, my people, today? Oh, yeah. Coming with another wonderful episode of, well, specials today, because we got something going on. Got some cool stuff. We are teaming up with Slice of Syfy to bring you this young man right here. To my right, Ira Steven Behr. What's up?
What's up with you, Michael?
Not much. I was thinking about hooking up the beard, and I was like, you know what? It might be too far. I don't want to jock his style.
There you go.
But I was like, I'm gonna let him keep his style. But I was just like, I was thinking about the blue. But, you know, I was just like,
I think you'd look good.
You know what? Next time. So, there's a reason we have him here. This is the reason we're chilling out together. You've done many things, but right now you have a documentary coming. What would that documentary be about?
Well, it's called What We Left Behind, a look back at Star Trek Deep Space Nine. So what it's about is embedded in the title itself.
Now, you worked just slightly, just a little bit on Deep Space Nine before, just a touch. If you could give them an idea of what you did on Deep Space Nine, please elaborate some.
Well, it was a very quick 7.5 years of my life, totally dedicated to Star Trek Deep Space Nine. And I started out as a supervising producer, and in season 3, Michael Piller, who was the co-creator, gave me the show, as he said, and I was the showrunner for the last 5 years.
Ooh, okay, so just a little bit, just not too much, just a little something.
170 plus episodes.
Yeah, of some very good, interesting character development, which I want to get into, but we have the documentary coming. And when you create a documentary, you know, you say What We Left Behind. Things when you go back and you start picking and pulling at everything that you worked on. What's one thing working on this documentary that made you say, oh man, I forgot about that?
Well, the thing that, I'm not sure I forgot about it, but the thing that surprised me the most was all the way back in 2015. This is how long we've been doing this doc. In 2015 in Vegas, we had a roundtable discussion with a lot of the main actors. And we were talking about me coming down to the set. And Nana Visitor, Kira Nerys, said, you know, every time you came down to the set, I thought, you know, a suit was coming down to the set. I said, and it shocked the hell out of me because a suit, that's not a compliment in my mind. You know, a suit is someone who lays down the law, not necessarily creative, and you don't want the suit to come down to the set. And I thought I was welcome down to the set, and it shocked the living hell out of me. And when it happened, I mean, it was like I couldn't hide it. It was like, wow, that's not good. And then, of course, ever since then, Nana's been explaining to me that all she meant was I was a figure of authority, you know, because I was the showrunner. But to me, she used the word suit. So it just goes to show you the divide between being up in the writer's office, in the producing offices, where you're in your own little world, so to speak, and then, you know, a quarter of a mile away, because that's how far away from the offices the stages were. You know, they're living in a whole different reality.
Yeah. Now, you said being in your own little world. Without giving away any spoilers for a show that you should at least be watching on Netflix, because it's there. It's there, man. It's there. But what was that different world like at the time? And did you think, like, hey, we're making some history. We're going to make some stuff that, you know, X amount of years, people will be looking back on like, wow, there's some great character work.
I did think we were making history. We were making a a Star Trek TV series that most people did not like. So I thought that was different. I thought, hey, we achieved something. It wasn't what we were looking to achieve, but at the time we were in the shadow of TNG, which was
Yeah.
on for the first 2 years we were on the air, and then the TNG movies were coming out, so we got hit with that. And then Voyager, which was the flagship show of this new network, UPN, so they threw all their attention to that. So we were like the little show in the shadows. We found ourselves a cult within a cult, which seemed impossible at the time, but we managed to pull it off. So it took a long time to feel the love from the fans.
Okay. Now, being that cult within a cult, did you ever feel maybe a little more freedom than maybe you thought you would have had if the light was all shined down on you? Or was the pressure still the same?
Michael, you took that nail and you hit it square on the head.
I do what I can.
And he does what he can, and he did it very well right then. Michael Pillar came into my office. I've told this story before, but Michael came into my office, closed the door. I was surprised. It was like he wants confidentiality. And he looked very kind of uncomfortable. And he said, look, Ira, I just want you to know, I love what you guys are doing on Deep Space Nine. This is after he had given me the show in the third season. I just need you to know that the flagship show of the franchise is going to be Voyager, because Voyager is the flagship show of UPN. And you're always going to be in the shadows. You are never going to be the face of Star Trek. And I'm sorry I have to tell you this, but I just didn't want it to get between us. And there you go. And he literally, his shoulders were really slumped, but he looked like a man giving really bad news to a friend. And he left. And when he left, I went, yes, because now all the powers that be, all those eyes, man, are going to be away from us and on to someone else, and we can do the shit we want to do.
Cool. Now, back to the characters, because I think something that you did very well, or the team did very well, was just having real and honest interactions. You're in space, but the people were real. What they went through was real. Like dealing with having a son, but also having to, somehow run a space station. Or dealing with people that are coming out of oppression and dealing with maybe a semi-new occupation, or people that had to be from that group, but then sort of serve somehow the new occupation. There were so many, identities. Like Kira, you had Odo, you had Quark. So when you're dealing with these characters, did you ever, from your point of view, put yourself into any of these characters or situations that you were writing?
Once again, very good, Michael. At the time, it was not a popular opinion, but when that season that I worked on, Next Generation, I tended to call it the Connecticut of Star Trek series, because I thought that it was very clean, very white, very, very the mowed lawn. It would be the mowed lawn.
Yeah.
Everything was in its place. And I used to say to the writers that DS9 was the Bronx, which is where I came from. And I always thought that, that kind of melting pot New York kind of a thing was what was reflected in the show. And the fact that there were underlying tensions within the various groups that were all sharing this space station, I thought was a positive thing. It was not a Star Trek thing, because you weren't supposed to have conflict, but, it showed people who had to learn how to work together, how to live together, and not necessarily think together, because it was okay to have different opinions and different thoughts and different goals, So that's how I viewed the show.
Cool. Now, if you were to say that there's an MVP, like your MVP of DS9, who would it be?
Wow, that is a tough question.
Because there's some good people out there. I'll throw in some, just don't forget about Quark. I'm just saying, don't forget about that guy. He's scrappy. He roughed up a couple of people. He jumped on somebody's back. He accidentally killed somebody. He was good at handling finances, sort of.
So
I'm really pushing for this.
So you're asking for the character. Who was the
Yeah.
MVP? Not
Who's the MVP?
actor.
No, not the actor.
Let's
The
make
character.
that clear.
Yes,
I'm
the
not
character.
choosing one actor over another.
Yes.
That would be very bad, and
We ain't going
doesn't
there.
want that. And Michael doesn't want that. In terms of the characters, the MVP. Well, if you, it depends. At the time, in a way, the MVP was Ducat.
Ooh.
Because Ducat
Yeah.
was someone, Alimo wasn't even hired originally to play the role. Another actor filmed for one day, and we got rid of him. And
Wow, I
it
need to
was-
go back and look. Did he ever make it to screen? Okay.
No. He was on the view screen, but we looked at it and said, no. And we, putting a show together like Deep Space, there were a lot of moving parts and a lot of problems. So the last thing we needed was to have this Cardassian actor who we didn't know at the time was going to play that big. We just could not have. It was not good. It just didn't work. So we said, who are we going to get? And someone said Alimo had been a Cardassian on TNG, I believe, and so we hired Alimo, and so that was a surprise. Nowadays, I would say also it was Garrick, because Garrick seems to become this incredibly, in hindsight, this incredibly positive character. And thus, you see, I've also managed not to choose one of the main actors, one of the main cast over the other, which I thought was a pretty slick move.
Very nice. I like that. Now, for people that are getting ready to check out this documentary that's coming out next week, at least that's when I'll be seeing it. So next week. I don't know if you guys are seeing it next week. It might already be out. Can't remember. But I'll be seeing it.
Monday, May 13th.
Aha.
Fathom Events.
And I'll be there. So check that link below. You'll be able to see it.
I'll be there too.
Oh, aha. See? He's going to be there too. But with this documentary that's coming, how would you juxtapose creating the documentary about the same source material as opposed to making the show?
Well, the show took 7 years of production, basically, and we made 170 episodes, plus, depending on how you take some of these two-parters. Let's say 170. To make an hour and 54-minute movie, it's taken us 6 years. So, that to me is the difference between the two. I had no idea going in that this was going to take as much time, be as focused and fierce as you had to be to make this thing actually happen. I thought I was going to skate through this with half my attention. At the beginning it was an hour doc. It was not a feature length. When it was sold to me by Dave Sapone, who's the co-director and the head of 455 Films that did the doc, he sold it to me as an hour, and I thought, and all I was doing was interviewing the actors.
So you're like, this is slam dunk.
Yeah, slam dunk. It grew from there. So, I wouldn't say that working on Deep Space Nine seems easy compared to the doc. It's that working on Deep Space Nine, you got feedback, even if it was negative, you got feedback a lot quicker. We've been working in a vacuum basically for 6 years, and finally now it's going to be seen by people. Now, obviously, we showed it last October to some of the backers and had some specialized screenings where people seemed to really enjoy it, which was good. But man, I have never worked on a project that's taken this long to reach fruition. It's be careful what you say yes to out there,
Be very careful. Now, before we get out of here, to anyone who hasn't had a chance to see Deep Space Nine, and you have Netflix, because I know you do, either you're paying for it, or your mama paying for it, or your boyfriend paying for it, or your little brother paying for it. Somebody has Netflix, and you got it. So how would you explain Deep Space Nine, and how would you entice them to watch it?
Wow. Well, if if you're a genre fan, if you like big stories, big canvas stories, Game of Thrones like big canvas stories, lots of characters, serialized, starting in one place, ending in another. If you like big action scenes and intimate character scenes, if you like tragedy laced with humor and humor laced with tragedy, then I think DS9 could be for you. So check it, right? Why not?
Why not? Like, just watch it. Look, how about this? Give it like 2-3 episodes. All right. I know it's a lot of episodes, but 2 or 3 and try it out. So they should watch it.
We'll sit here, go watch it now. Go turn on Netflix. We'll just sit here, watch 2 episodes.
Go. And
and we'll
the whole
just
time
wait and then come back and let us know. Okay? You ready? Just
go. Okay, we get the point. But since we have to go, thank you for hanging with us and giving us some of that knowledge, that insider look at the fun stuff that we got going on. So for the wonderful people that are checking us out, they paused this and went and watched Netflix, came back. Where can they find you?
Where they can find me? I've been looking for myself for years, so I don't know where they could find me. But they can find What We Left Behind at theater near them. Go to Fathom Events and go to their homepage. Type in your little zip code, and it'll tell you which one of the over 800 theaters that it is playing in the United States. And if you happen to be tuning in or looking in from Canada, it's playing in a bunch of theaters in Canada too. So just type in, I guess they have zip codes in Canada. I think they do.
They have something. You have something in
like
Canada.
That. So,
numbers or something.
Yeah. So
we know y'all have addresses.
And, whatever they say in Canada, yo, howdy.
Thanks.
Whoa. Thank you. Bye-bye.
So, guys, thank you so much for hanging with us. Of course, big shout out and thanks to Slice of Syfy for teaming up with us. Check them out for all your sci-fi needs. They got fantasy, horror, sci-fi, getting deep, sometimes on the science side, and also weird on the fiction side. But, of course, you can check me, that NERDSoul, everywhere. So, of course, we're saying thank you for checking us out. Check out that movie on Monday. And, of course, from us to you, we're just saying peace.